everyone, and welcome to another episode of Canada's Real Deal. I'm your host, Anuj, and I'm a real estate broker in the Greater Toronto Area.
And my name is Anika Dogra, and I'm a mortgage agent level 2 in Ontario. And today we're going to be talking about something we've talked about a couple times, but with a little bit of a twist. So again, we're talking about Trump's tariffs, but this time we're going to talk about it more from the perspective of America before we get into how it's going to impact Canada now that we know what the trade policy is going to be. So it's clear that Trump believes that America has been pillaged for many decades and that Americans need to suffer in the short term in order to make a longer term gain.
Yeah, and we want to start off by saying we're not anti-Trump, but we just want to explore these new trade policies and tariff wars and see the probable impacts of them, whether that's good or bad.
So at the time of the recording, it's been a little over a week since Liberation Day. And some people did call it Liquidation Day. Some people called it Termination Day. But what people were hoping for once Liberation Day happened was a little bit more clarity about what was going to happen to global markets. Has the uncertainty lifted? Not really.
No.
It's still pretty uncharted waters for investors and businesses to understand what they need to do to prepare. And when there's uncertainty, there are certain things that we can objectively predict will happen. Again, we don't want to be biased, but these are things that we think are probably likely to happen so that we can speak on it.
Yeah, so when there's uncertainty, households and businesses will dial back on their spending for sure. That's number one. This means that our GDP is going to go down. Wages might sink in an inflationary period, also bad for the economy.
Yeah, less buying power for anybody who does actually have a job.
Exactly, and that will just continue with increasing unemployment, and that all spells recession.
Yeah, so each of these stages are steps in an economic cycle are going to feed into the next one, and that's going to create a feedback loop that will likely lead to a recession.
Yeah.
And a lot of these problems that America is facing might be rising from within borders.
Yeah.
But they're blaming other countries, and then they're using this trade policy to kind of address these things. It might not fix everything, and it likely won't, but it is going to impact the rest of the world. Like the saying goes, if America sneezes, the rest of the world catches a flu.
Yeah, but so they're blaming other countries for the problems that they have within, but are these policies not creating more problems from within?
Yeah, of course it's going to create more problems from within because they're going to create inflation. Maybe it might be short-term inflation, but they are going to create inflation. And that does not change the fact that once inflation happens, prices don't go down. They're kind of stuck at that. That becomes a new normal. And they're also going to face retaliation, right? There's tariffs that are being placed back on them. It's not just about imports. It's about their exports as well. So if there's tariffs being placed on them, their export market is also shrinking as well. That's also affecting all the products that they want to start building within their borders. Where is that going to go?
Yeah. And if you guys did miss our previous episode about tariffs and you're kind of lost what we're talking about, go back and watch it. We're going to clip it right here at the top right.
So even Mike Pence tweeted that tariffs, because they are a tax, this is the largest tax hike in American history during peace times.
Yeah, he actually said it would probably cost the average American family $3,500 USD a year with an extra cost because of these tariffs.
And in Canadian dollar terms, that's about $5,000 a year. So it's a significant amount for most families. Now, this is an interesting situation for Trump to be in because he does not want to be known as the president that adds to the deficit.
Yeah.
Okay. So he promised not to raise taxes on Americans. So he can't get revenue from that. So he's going to use a tariff, which will be taxes on imports, right? And he's obviously not going to cut taxes for the rich because those are the people who have been supporting him this entire time. So what they're going to try, or what they've been trying to do, is use efficiency measures by haphazardly firing everybody on large scales and not really consulting experts to see what the impact of that's going to be, not creating plans for how these people find other jobs. So for sure, in the short term, there's going to be a lot of unemployment.
Yeah, and I was also thinking, coupled with the whole AI movement and everything, there's already so much job loss. And then, now you're bringing in tariffs and artificial inflation in your economy. I don't know. I think this is recipe for disaster in the next 4 years.
Yeah, and the other thing is you don't really know what the impact of tariffs will be when you do it on such a large scale across so many countries, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things that you need to consider, and it's like why would they even think about imposing tariffs? Like, what would be the benefit of even considering that gamble?
So what Trump thinks is going to happen is that these tariffs are going to shock central banks in foreign countries. So what he thinks that will force them to do is decrease their own interest rates, which means that the American dollar has more purchasing power in this foreign country now, right? So even if these tariffs are being imposed on their American consumers, they had more purchasing power because the US dollar essentially went higher in value, right? So this is what he thinks is going to happen, or they have no choice but to cut their expenses somewhere so that they can keep the same price for the product that they're giving right now to Americans, because Americans have such a huge consumer base for their foreign good.
Yeah, but that's a huge risk to take.
It's huge.
It's a huge gamble because there's so many factors involved that they need to consider to do something like that.
Yeah, like thinking about their interest rate is one thing, but their all their connections they have to other countries, you have no idea who they're trading with. You don't know their inside economy. You don't know their GDP, changes in foreign political power, right?
Yeah. You don't know how they're developing. You don't know what exchange rates are going to be at the time that you implement this, right? So again, it's very like, let's hope for the best. It's not
bullying.
really it's what?
Bullying.
Yeah, it's like, it's not a strategy. It's just being forceful and then being like, let's hope that it works out for me.
Yeah.
But I think what's more likely going to happen, and we've already kind of seen this happen, is blocks are going to form. So there's going to be like a European bloc and they're going to start trading. And I think Canada will probably start growing stronger ties with them. There will be an East Asian bloc. And we saw that like China, Korea, and Japan all coming together and starting to like think about how they can build their own trade alliances. So
new partnerships, which could in turn just keep US out of it, right? Mm-hmm. And now all these countries are not relying on US to be that center of power anymore. And maybe we don't even need to use the US dollar anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great news for BRICS. BRICS is another bloc that would probably form, right?
Yeah.
There might be some conflicts I see happening from the trade wars, but you don't know how BRICS is going to react to that.
Yeah, I heard that Trump had a formula for why he's putting this random percentage tariffs on countries. What was it?
So basically, they took the trade surplus and then they divided it by the trade deficit.
Yep.
And they said that is the tariff rate that America is facing. So it made absolutely no sense. And
I'm confused
it was just,
right now.
Yeah, the math ain't mathing. It was just a justification to present to American people that this is the tariffs that we are facing or we are paying from these foreign nations. And what I'm saying is true, that we've been taken advantage of. Which is kind of ridiculous because in situations like, I think like Germany and France and Japan, the net effective tariff rate was something like 2%. But when they use this formula, it comes up as like 20 to 25%. And another thing that really annoyed me online that I was seeing was people saying like, did you know that Canada pays or charges us 200% tariffs on certain products? We've been robbed for decades. Like, it's ridiculous because those are based on quotas. And we've never actually met those quotas. So those tariffs have never actually been paid. Those quotas are in place to protect domestic industries, right? So that things can be fair, so that we can have a healthy trade relationship with America. But it's convenient to present things in a certain way when you think people are going to fall for it.
Because it's fake news.
I'm looking over at you and you could not, you're smiling the entire time waiting to say it. So yeah, again, this is just a trade war that seemed like it was just going to be with Canada out of nowhere has become a global trade war.
Yeah. So now America said they're going to put 104% tariffs on 100% of Chinese goods. April 9th, right?
Yeah, which is today.
Oh, great. Great
Yeah.
time to shoot.
So, and then which is ridiculous because if we can paint the picture, America and China trade about $585 billion goods like within, I think, last year alone.
Just between them two.
Yeah. And they, according to the International Monetary Fund, they make up about 43% of the global GDP.
43%?
Yeah.
So basically, if they're in a trade war and everything goes down for their economies, everyone in the entire world is screwed.
Absolutely. And one of the ways that we can see this play out, or we're likely to see this play out, is that China is already producing so much. They produce excess every year on the products that they're producing domestically because they expect to sell it elsewhere. Yeah. Now, if they have had such a large amount of their products going to America this entire time, and America is no longer going to need it, they're going to look to dump it somewhere else, right? And so if they're dumping things like steel in countries like the UK or Canada or even India, that's going to ruin things for them domestically, right? Yeah, that's going to create job losses in those countries.
I mean, I'll take your dump steel any day.
Yeah, we could probably use it because we are facing a housing shortage and we need to get houses built.
Yeah, but maybe, there's opportunity in that too, right? One side of the coin is it's taking away from our primary goods that we produce within Canada, but maybe we can start moving to secondary goods, right? Which have more value and start exporting more goods globally. And, Canada can be a bigger player.
Yeah, there's definitely an adjustment that needs to be made. But again, it takes planning. It's unfortunate that we have to do this so quickly on the fly in such an uncertain environment.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now on to the part of the podcast where we are going to think of ways that we can thank Trump for the tariffs.
It's really hard.
Okay, but we did come up with some, okay, based on our own values that maybe not everyone will agree with. But one of the things that we think that we can thank Trump for is, Anuj, do you want to take it away?
I think environmentally and sustainability wise, we can thank Trump.
Yeah.
Right?
And the reason being is because if we are forcing our countries to start creating more factories domestically, then we are not going to waste as much energy shipping primary goods out to America to get them refined or processed, just to have them sent back to us for us to complete it or finish it and then sell it and distribute it across the country. That takes up a lot of energy. It's very energy intensive.
Yeah, just transportation and packaging alone usually account for 20% of the energy and waste produced when you're making a product and shipping it out.
Yeah. And I think it adds on to the total freight cost that we pay as consumers as well. So yeah, inflation might happen, but if we actually start creating those industries within our country, some of those costs might actually go down.
And maybe it does translate to more jobs for Canadians.
Yeah. And that could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. It depends on how we look at the situation, right? So another thing that we can thank Trump for is that it will force people to adjust their lifestyles. Yeah. And in the West, we have been accustomed to a lot of consumerism. There's a lot of overconsumption. Like people are always buying from Shein and Temu and, Wish, like putting on, like creating like these like displays of overconsumption in like different rooms in their house and stuff, right? And we don't need so much. Like we need to start to reduce that kind of
consumption,
that consumption and that lifestyle that is not sustainable for the earth.
Yeah. Right? Even snacks and food, right? America is known to be super gluttonous.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, people would buy things that are seasonal, and maybe we need to go back to that so we can start supporting more local produce.
Yeah.
And then finally, things that we could possibly thank the tariffs for is
maybe the house prices going down,
a housing crash, because it's going to allow first-time home buyers and millennials to possibly have a chance at home ownership.
Yeah. If you think about it, we've never seen kind of a period where house prices are going down, but interest rates are also going down. So it's kind of this really good window of opportunity for someone who was waiting or never thought they had the chance to get in there, right?
Yeah. It's always opposite forces, right? Rates go up, prices come down, rates go down, prices come up, right? Yeah. So this is a very unique time, if not an ideal time to buy, right? If you can afford it.
Yeah, because, like you're stuck with the price. It's always the price that's the biggest issue. And we'll probably talk about that more in our next episode.
Yeah, it's always the rate. The price is actually more important than the rate.
Yeah.
Right? But other things that we can thank Trump for is it's going to force Canada to open up our internal trade barriers.
Yes.
Right? So things like regulations that are different across provinces that impact how trucks deliver things across provinces.
The capacity of how much they can deliver.
Yeah, that'll allow us to be more efficient. With that, we will probably reduce labor restrictions so that you have more labor mobility across provinces. That could also impact provinces negatively if like families are moving across provinces. Like if everyone's moving to Toronto for better job opportunities and then you're taking away like nurses or skilled workers from that province, that could be a problem. But it does open up opportunities for people who are seeking to use their credentials in other provinces.
Yeah, and I think the more important thing is that if it's a Canadian good or produced in Canada and it's circulated around Canada, it'll be cheaper.
Yeah, it opens up opportunities for businesses as well to sell their products nationally with more ease.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and let us know in the comments if you've been impacted by the Trump tariffs.
If you like this video, please give us a like or share this video with someone who would benefit from it. And to keep up with future videos, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything.